card.
Okay, this weekend, UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Spivac, going down in Paris, France at the Accor Arena, headlined by the Parisian Ciryl Bongamin Gane taking on the Pole, Serghei Polar Bear Spivac. Wait a second. Is he Polish? No, he's Moldovan. My bad. I was thrown off by the nickname. I thought it was like a play on words for a second. The Moldovan, Serghei Spivac. Is he the only fighter out of Moldova? It's got to be.
At least that I know of, or in memory anyway.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I believe we're going to talk about 4 or 5 of these. I believe the top 4 main card fights. Before we do, buddy, is there any other fights or fighters that you want to quickly spotlight for our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, so there's really 2 fights that I think at this point I'm curious about and looking forward to. Interestingly enough, the first fight on the card I think is going to be a complete banger. Farid Basharov versus Klidson Rodriguez, I think has the makings of a fantastic fight. Kind of curious as to why that's the first fight on the card. But that is going to be a great fight. They also have Anglusa versus Reese McKee, which I think is also a pretty decent fight. And then apparently, I guess I'm a little interested to see what the hype is around Callan Lofrain, maybe. He will be fighting Taylor Lapillus in the bantamweight division in that card. So I guess I'm just going to take a look and see if he's worth all that hype. I don't really know anything about him. I had never heard of him up until this point. So that'll also be one I'll be looking out for.
In Paris.
Paris,
France. I want to be French and just look down on people. All right. I'm better with Spanish and Portuguese, but I just can't get like the placement of French. It's all nasal and like and just like I can't do it. Can you? I mean, you speak Spanish. So maybe it's a little easier for you. It's a romance language.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really obviously know how to speak French. I know how to imitate speaking French, but it sounds good.
I speak barely enough Spanish, and the little Spanish I speak, I think I can speak it pretty well. Mm-hmm. But it only gets me into trouble because then people think I'm way more fluent than I am.
Yeah, I know the feeling for that.
I've had people ask me to like translate for them. I'm like, I can't translate.
Yeah. I'm good conversationally, but I think once we start getting into like I've tried doing IT in Spanish before, a lot harder than it sounds. A lot of words I do not use in Spanish that are IT related that I'm like, you just got to start doing the Spanglish thing, hard drive, and you just kind of you just go from there.
That's hilarious. Yeah. All right, let's get into this. All right, starting things off in the light heavyweight division, Volkan Oezdemir versus Bogdan Guskov. So we have Oezdemir, one of the great nicknames, No Time, Volkan Oezdemir. Although I think he puts it in the middle. He is the 33-year-old out of Switzerland. He is 18-7 as a pro with 12 knockouts on his record, coming off of a loss against Nikita Krylov back in October of last year. He's been ping-ponging a little bit, or pinballing a little bit back and forth between wins and losses, so looking to get back in the win column once again for No Time. This time, he will be welcoming in to the UFC a prospect, Bogdan Guskov, the 30-year-old out of Uzbekistan. The prospect is 14-2 with 12 knockouts and 2 submissions, so none of his wins have gone to the scorecards. Of his 2 losses, he's been knocked out once and lost 1 on the scorecards. That being said, we obviously don't have much information of the newcomer Guskov, but what do you make of this matchup? And give us a little pick.
So, Volkan has obviously been pretty hot and cold lately. Won against Paul Craig, but not in any kind of spectacular fashion or anything like that. Just kind of shut down the game of Paul Craig in that fight. And then has kind of lost quite a bit since then as well. Prohaska, Ankalaev, Krylov. Obviously, all these guys are high-level guys. But he's been losing to these guys nonetheless. Bogdan Guskov is one of these guys that has a resume that shows devastation, right? This guy doesn't really seem to let people off the hook at all. And I think either way, whether he wins or he loses, things are generally going to go the way of a finish. So Oezdemir is unfortunately one of these guys that I don't really trust his chin at this point, and he's also not the kind of fighter that doesn't get hit. I think at some point, his chin and his head is going to get touched in almost every fight that he's in. So I think I'm going to go with Guskov in this one, man. I think if he brings the power that it seems like he does, I think he's going to get it done, and I think he's going to get it done in the first round. So I'm going to go with Guskov, first round KO.
I mean, the guy is scary. Watching his highlights, his knockouts, he has huge power. He has power going forwards and going backwards on his back foot. He's a bit of a monster. And I completely agree with you. I think Oezdemir is an up and down enough kind of guy. And I do agree. I think he, like we alluded to earlier in the episode, I think about Anthony Smith. I feel that way a little bit about Volkan Oezdemir. He's a guy I don't think he has, compared to other 205ers. He doesn't eat a shot as well as other guys. I'll put that, I think, in the nicest terms possible. So I'm going to say that the newcomer shines in his debut over the Swiss Oezdemir. I'm going to say Guskov gets it done. I'll say round one knockout, and he surprises everybody and puts the division on alert.
Nice.
Thank you. Okay, in the where's my cheat sheet here? In the lightweight division, Benoit Saint-Denis taking on Thiago Moises. So Saint-Denis, the god of war. Another good one. The 27-year-old, also out of Paris, France. He is 11-1, also won no contest with 9 submissions. Add another 2 knockouts. I can do math. That also means, like Guskov, none of his wins have gone the distance. He's only lost 1 fight, and that went to the scorecards. That was also his UFC debut, might I add. He has won 3 in a row since, and he's riding that 3-fight win streak into this weekend against Thiago Moises, the 28-year-old out of São Paulo, Brazil. He is 17-6 as a pro with 11 finishes, 8 of them submissions, and he is on a 2-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Omar, give us your take of this matchup. Very exciting matchup in the lightweight division between Saint-Denis and Moises.
I think it's a great test for Saint-Denis, if we're being honest, man. So Thiago Moises, for all the wins and losses that he has, is a very, very good fighter, a very dangerous fighter. And I think if you fuck around with Thiago Moises, you're liable to get caught in a choke or get finished to some degree. But I don't know, man. Benoit Saint-Denis got some real good momentum in his direction. He's fighting on home ground. He's not, he's a beast in and of himself, right? He's got his finishes. He's got his great performances. Finished the Bonfim brother when we didn't necessarily think those Bonfim brothers were going to lose. It's hard for me to pick against Saint-Denis right now, man. So I'm going to go in his direction. I think this is going to be one of those fights where they're going to come to scrap. I don't think either one of them are going to be very tentative, and I think this does end in a finish one way or another. But I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis here, and I think he catches him in some kind of submission. And that's saying something because Thiago Moises is nasty on the ground. But I think this does go down to the ground, and I think Saint-Denis can find something down there. So I'm going to go with Saint-Denis by submission, second round.
I'll split hairs with you. I think that Moises is too good on the ground to get caught. But I'm going to roll with Saint-Denis as well. I think he took a lot of the shine off of Bonfim back in July. So I'm going to be rolling with the Frenchman here. I'm going to say he gets a club and sub in the second round. Okay, let's go up to the co-main event, a very consequential bout in the women's flyweight division. Manon Fiorot taking on Thug Rose Namajunas, who is coming up in weight from the strawweight division up to the flyweight division, straight up to the top of the rankings, of course, because She is a living legend, is Thug Rose. Let's first talk about the French woman, Madame Manon Fiorot, out of Nice, France. The Beast is the nickname, might I add. Another good one. Not many people named The Beast. She's 33 years old. She is 10-1 as a pro with 6 knockouts. She has not lost a fight since 2018. She's undefeated now in the UFC. She's 5-0 in the UFC. And she will be standing across from her toughest test in Thug Rose Namajunas, the 31-year-old out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She's 11-5 as a pro with 2 knockouts and 5 submissions on her record. She's coming off of a split decision loss at the hands of Carla Esparza, in which she lost the strawweight belt back in May of 2022. So over a year for Thug Rose. Okay, buddy. I've set it up. Give us your take and your pick of Thug Rose moving up to take on the Beast, Manon Fiorot.
I really wish we could wait. I wish I could wait to pick this fight until after the weigh-ins, because I really want to see what they both look like filled out after the weight cut to see where they're at size-wise, because it seems like to me that Manon Fiorot is going to be the bigger girl in there. And the game of Rose Namajunas has never really presented itself as super successful against girls who are particularly stronger than her.
I was going to make the exact same fucking point.
Yeah, and I don't know how much bigger Manon Fiorot is really at this point. You know, we have the numbers 5'7", 5'5", and all that stuff, but we all know that once they're standing next to each other, sometimes things can visually look different than what they might look like in your head after reading things on paper. So I would love to see what Rose Namajunas looks like at 125, ready to go. I would love to see what that looks like against a Manon Fiorot who's after she's cut her weight and filled back in, what she looks like as well. But if I got to choose right now, man, I love Rose Namajunas, but I might have to go with Manon Fiorot at this one. I just don't know if the size. I don't know if she's going to be able to deal with the size the way that she's going to want to. I think that outside movement and her lateral movement for her striking and stuff like that, I think might work maybe in the beginning, but I think Manon Fiorot is just such a forward fighter, such a beast of a fighter, that I can't see her staying outside and just getting picked apart the whole time and accepting it. At some point, she's going to crash in. At some point, this is going to become a grappling match. And as good as Rose Namajunas is, I do think the size is going to become a factor. And Manon Fiorot is not a slouch on the ground by any stretch of the imagination at all. So I'm going to go with Manon Fiorot here, though. I don't know if anybody's going to get finished here, but I'm going to play it safe, and I'll go with decision by Manon Fiorot.
I think this is a tough fight for Rose Namajunas to take for her first flyweight bout. I think Manon Fiorot at 125 pounds is sort of like the French, like the gorilla in the room. Like nobody wants to fight her coming up the rankings because she is a beast. I think she's big for the weight class. She's tall. She's a great kickboxer. She's super strong. Also, just like looking at images of them, and I've always felt this way about Fiorot. It's like she doesn't have and I don't mean this to sound like piggish or chauvinistic in any kind of way. I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. But she has like a dude's like frame. She has like no hips. She has like a straight, like a wide like rib cage. She doesn't have like a feminine. Like, look at Rose. Rose Namajunas is like a svelte woman who's like lean and like thin. And like Manon Fiorot, she has like a wide body and like rib cage. And again, I'm not saying this to disparage her in any way. I'm not trying to be mean. It's not about that. I'm just saying that I think she's going to be much bigger than Rose Namajunas. And I think as great of a striker as Rose is, and I'm a huge fan of Rose's striking, I think the advantage there is going to be for Fiorot, especially since I think she's going to be much bigger and much stronger than Namajunas. I think the key to victory would be Rose's submissions, because she also has great jiu-jitsu and great submissions on the mat. Can she get it there? I don't know. I don't know how she gets it there. Because I think she'd have to get a hold of Fior. Or maybe find herself in some kind of wild scramble with Fior. Could it happen? I guess so, yeah. But I don't see her catching Fior with something like she caught Wei Li with. So I'm going to go with Manon Fior by a unanimous decision in a 3-round fight.
Yeah.
I'll say 30-27 or 29-28 for Fior. So, sucks. Because I think that there are other girls that I would love to see her match up with. Even Grasso. I think she's a better matchup for Grasso.
I agree.
Than Fior.
I agree with that as well.
Even Blanchfield. Although Blanchfield's gonna try to... I think Blanchfield would definitely try to body Thug Rose. Anyhow. Do we know why she's going up? Why is she going up? She's such a great strawweight.
I don't know. I'm not really sure maybe she spent so much time at 115. Maybe her body's changed. Maybe she wants some fresher fights. I'm not really sure. I am glad, though. I did read something where she finally admitted that her fight with Carlos Esparza was fucking garbage. So I'm glad we're all on the same page finally, because Jesus.
Yeah. Well, cool. Main event. Let's do this. And then let's
do it.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
In the main event of UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Spivac, we have the Frenchman, Ciryl Gane, taking on Serghei Spivac. So Ciryl Gane, bon gamin, which means good boy. This is the 33-year-old out of Paris, France. He is 11-2 as a pro in MMA. He has a very decorated record in heavyweight Muay Thai before he went into MMA. But he's 11-2 in MMA as a pro. Only 3 of his wins have gone the distance, so he has 5 knockout victories and another 3 submission victories, which might be a little surprising to hear that he has any, considering his skill set. So, most recently, he lost. His only 2 losses in MMA, it's worth noting, were in UFC title fights. So he squandered both of his opportunities, first losing a decision to Francis Ngannou back in January of 2022. Then he knocked out the surging Tai Tuivasa, bringing that hype train to a screeching halt. And then he went up against Jon Jones for the vacant belt after Ngannou vacated the belt and left the UFC. And Jon Jones choked him out in about 2 minutes. So, grappling is sort of the monkey on Ciryl Gane's back in his 2 MMA losses, because Ngannou basically manufactured that win by using a lot of wrestling, and Jon Jones did what Jon Jones did back in March of this year. He will be standing across from another guy who's pretty damn good at grappling in Serghei Spivac, the polar bear. He is the 28-year-old, damn, he's still very young, Moldovan. He is 16-3 as a pro. Only 2 of his 16 wins has gone the distance. He has 7 subs and 7 knockouts on his record. He's only lost 3 times. He himself has never been submitted. He's lost 1 decision and has been knocked out twice. And he's riding a 3-fight win streak coming into this weekend's fight, defeating Greg Hardy, Augusto Sakai, and most recently Derek Lewis by submission in round number 1. Omar, give us your take and then your pick of this very consequential heavyweight bout between Spivac and Gane.
Realize Mark's not here to give us odds.
Oh yeah, can you find him? Find him.
I think the ones I don't know where he gets them from. I keep forgetting where he gets them from. But the ones that I can find right now are minus 165 for Ciryl Gane and plus 145 for Spivac. UFC has it as minus 166 for Gane and plus 140 for Spivac. So Spivac is, I mean, it's a relatively close fight. It's not super wide as far as the line is concerned, but Man, it's such an interesting fight because you're right. Spivac is the problem is that Francis Ngannou is such a non-wrestler that what happened in that title fight against Ciryl Gane will forever haunt the takedown defense of Ciryl Gane. Not to mention that the next opportunity he gets to show some takedown defense, Jon Jones absolutely abuses him within 2 minutes. So there's not a ton of confidence there when it comes to the takedown defense and him being able to keep guys who are decent at grappling. Because I don't even think you can say Ngannou is necessarily super good at grappling. He's probably got the basics down at best, and he was able to take down Gane at will in that fight for the most part. So it does give me a lot of pause, man, because can he catch Serghei Spivac? Can he keep him on the outside? Totally possible. But Spivac is not an easy out. And that man, if he gets his arms around you and you cannot stop a takedown, he will eat you alive 100%. Yep. And I think that's where I'm going to land, man. As much as I believe in Ciryl Gane and I like his style and I like the way he fights, I think that takedown defense or lack thereof, I think is going to be his undoing if he hasn't done anything to fix it. And I can't go off of the idea that he has right now. I have done that before with other people. I can't do that with this one right now. So I'm going to go with Spivac here. I think he comes out big in this fight. I think he shoots up in the rankings when it's all said and done. But I do think he brings it down to the ground. I think he rides Ciryl Gane for a while. I'm going to go with a submission here, round 4.
It's a little unfortunate that I also am going to go with Serghei Spivac. It's a little unfortunate because Ciryl Gane is sort of a promotional darling of the UFC. He looks like an action figure. He looks like, comparisons have been made appearance-wise between him and Anthony Joshua, that he's the MMA Anthony Joshua. He's like this giant, handsome, jacked guy from France who's like a kickboxer at heavyweight and dances around like a welterweight. And, he put in a little bit he didn't come into the UFC and like walk into a title shot. He has quite a few fights in the UFC. He put in a little, his dues, and he marched up the rankings by staying undefeated until he fought Ngannou for the title. He finished Derek Lewis. He finished Tai Tuivasa. He finished Junior Dos Santos. He beat Rosenstrike. The guy's good. Yeah. But he didn't fight a grappler, really, until Jon Jones. And he didn't fight before that. And Ngannou used grappling, although that took just about everybody in the universe by surprise. Mm-hmm. Nobody saw that coming. But, dude, styles make fights. And I feel that this is not a great stylistic matchup for Ciryl Gane. And the last time he fought not that Jon Jones is just a pure grappler, but Jon Jones is a guy who is such a good MMA grappler that he grapples who he wants when he wants, and that's what he does. Do I think that Spivac is the level of grappler of Jon Jones? I don't know if I go that far. I don't know if I'm going to say that. But Serghei Spivac has impressed me quite a bit at the grappling that he has displayed. He has dominated some guys on the ground. He is big. He's a big 6'3". I know that Ciryl Gane is going to be taller. He's listed at, I think, 6'5". Mm-hmm. And I see here that Spivac is 6'3", or listed at 6'3". But I feel that he's a big 6'3", especially on the ground. When he grapples, it's like he really exacts his will on his opponents. And coupled with the fact that Ciryl Gane is not the kind of striker. I mean, he's a striker through and through, but he's not the kind of striker who has touch of death power. He might be good if you wanted to be that kind of fighter, but he's not that kind of guy. He's not that kind of striker. He dances, he measures, he downloads, he picks you apart pretty much from the outside. And then he kind of cranks it up. He kind of like dials it in as the fight goes on. It's kind of like what he did to Tuivasa. It's what he did to Derek Lewis. That being said, given that, I think Spivac is going to go at him. He's going to find his spots, and he's going to secure a takedown, and he's going to go to work. And I don't know if Ciryl Gane has done the work to negate that at this point. So I'm going to say that he suffers another submission loss at the hands of Serghei Spivac. And I'm going to say that this happens in round 2. And the 28-year-old out of Moldova is going to be suddenly on everybody's radar because he's going to get the biggest win of his career over the former title challenger, Ciryl Gane. And there you have it, my friend.